Two questions. Um, See, recently Maharashtra, the state we're sitting in now, has been very notorious for two major hit and run cases. So much so that sentiments of bar owners and waiters have been extremely nervous, afraid, even to the point of paranoia that they're checking IDs like they've never checked IDs. Like it's like you're going to an undergrad school in America and you're 18 years old and your
Right.
fake ID won't never work because they have the strictest policies. डिस्पाइट लॉ कुछ भी बोले, आर्म्स एंड एमिनेशन नॉट अलाउड, टोबैको और ये 25 साल की एज का जो लिखा होता है हमें सबको पता है. इंडिया इज अ कंट्री वेयर बाय एंड लार्ज पीपल हु आर बिलो द ड्रिंकिंग एज गो ड्रिंक देयर हार्ट्स आउट एट 16, 17, 18, 19, 25. तो बहुत लेट होता है, तब तक तो मोस्टली पीपल आर लाइक बेसिकली डन. जुवेनाइल ड्रिंकिंग इज द नॉर्म इन इंडिया, राइट? Despite what the law says.
But then again, isn't that the case across the world?
No, I would say in many European countries, for example, the drinking age is 18. Right? People drink at 18. But हमारे यहाँ पे 25 बहुत ज़्यादा है. वो मैं drinking age की बात नहीं कर रहा. मैं जिस मुद्दे पे आ रहा हूँ, मुद्दा ये है कि these hit and run cases, one is Mihir Shah, the other is Vedant Agarwal. Vedant Agarwal was a famous Porsche driver who, killed people in Pune. Mihir Shah is the son of a famous politician. He did the same in Mumbai, where for 1.5 kilometers, a woman was stuck inside the car wheels and kept rolling. आज तो उसको अरेस्ट कर लिया है मीर शाह को, फ्रॉम व्हाट आई नो. उसके ड्राइवर को यूजुअल कंप्लिसिट कर लिया, जो करते ही हैं अमीर परिवार. लेकिन दूसरे वेदांत अग्रवाल वाले केस में his mother replaced the blood samples, he was made to write an essay. The whole nation basically witnessed a mockery of the judicial system, the legal system, where once again, and this is my question, can the rich get away with tampering with justice and laws in broad daylight and we can do diddly squat about it?
So, you narrated certain facts. Usme bhi, before answering this question, usme bhi I'd like to just give a few thoughts. Bombay case, I did not follow up properly, so I'm very bereft of the facts. The Pune case, a lot of people said that, oh, he was made to write an essay. Let's not lose sight of the fact that you are treated very differently as an adult in comparison to when you're not an adult. If you reference back to the Nirbhaya case, one of the rape accused persons was also below the age of 18. He was given the maximum possible imposable sentence, which was 3 years. And after 3 years in custody, he came out. Obviously, in fact, people lament that he was the one who actually committed the biggest atrocity, right? The rod and everything was done by him, but he got 3 years. And people were very angry. They brought in new laws. In the Juvenile Justice Act, I believe, they also, amended the laws because of that kid. They said that there are certain situations, if you're above the age of 16, we will treat you as an adult in certain offenses. One aspect is, so this is one aspect. Another aspect is, what is the maximum imposable sentence for not for drunken driving, but for death by rash and negligent act, as the statute calls it. Section 304A earlier, again, BNS, I'm not
sure. BNS.
So, a lot of times people say, oh, hit and run case, the person died, and then how did this person come out on bail? This is not just for the rich and the famous. 304A is in fact a bailable offense, which means that you cannot be taken into custody. You are arrested on paper and then you are released. If it's just 304A, at least as it stood then. So a lot of people, they committed death, right? Death by rash and negligent act. So much so that, in order to kind of come up with a sense of justice, the Supreme Court also, I think, convoluted the law a little and interpreted it in a different way, saying that you caused a, death by rash and negligent act, which is punishable under 304A. It's a bailable offense. However, we say that if a person is inebriated while they cause that rash and negligent act, right, then we will impose 302 murder ka allegation at least as a prima facie this thing, right? Because we say that if you were driving while drunk, then we will assume that you understood that there is a very high likelihood that you are going to cause the death of a person, and therefore we will not call it just a rash and negligent act, but an act so malicious that death would be the cause. Do you see how they have added interpretation upon interpretation, which I'm not saying is, I say it's wrong, but I'm not saying that you should let a person go. I'm saying you should amend the law to make a proper punishment for 304A if it is a drunken driving, or maybe perhaps amend the Motor Vehicles Act to say that if you're operating a motor vehicle under the influence of, obviously there is a jail sentence if you are found operating, but it's a very, I think 1 month, 6 months, something like that. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I checked the Motor Vehicles Act. But why don't you add a provision under the Motor Vehicles Act that's saying that if you cause, say, grievous hurt while operating a machinery, and that too while you were inebriated, you'll go to jail for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and it's a non-bailable offense.
Yeah, 75% of Delhi would be in jail then.
As they should be. If you are doing drunken driving at the end of the day, I do say that you should understand that if you do cause death after, or you cause injury after being drunk, you are, I mean, why does the Motor Vehicle Act exist? It's a privilege to be driving down the streets. We cannot say that it's my fundamental right to drive a vehicle on the streets. It cannot be a fundamental right to drive maybe a Maruti 800 or a tank or anything in between on the streets, right? It is a statutory right that is given to us. And if we are, so that's the difference between, fundamental right inherently given by the Constitution and something which the legislature allows us to have. Motor Vehicle Act says you can drive if you have a license, if you've gone through the training, the documentation, everything. And as a natural extension of that, the Motor Vehicles Act itself, or maybe perhaps under any other relevant law, there should be a categorical punishment for these kind of things, rather than importing these interpretations left, right, center and going over there. Now, coming to the more meaty question that you had, which is, can the rich and the famous get away? They often have, since time immemorial, they often have, right? We talked about hit and run. A great example is one person that was mentioned in this podcast, in the past few hours. One person was accused, right? Course, insidiously. Yeah. Let's not even name names, otherwise we both.
That is so hard to find that story even now.
Yes,
but people still remember. They even say it like they say the name of Voldemort. Yeah,
sure. So you must not be named. And that was a great example. If it did happen, it's a great example of how you can manage these things. Is it wrong? Of course. What do we do about it? To a certain extent, the press has been influential, instrumental, right? Jessica Lal murder case, it was only because of the efforts of the press that this whole hush acquittal was overturned and the man, spent several years in jail. That was a little semblance of justice. A lot of other occasions, now it's not just the press, it's the social media justice, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times the virality, not by a journalist, but just by the regular Joe, right? Twitter justice is also incredible, right? I find it fascinating that you file a complaint somewhere and then you tag the police on Twitter, and if you get to a certain you cross a certain threshold, no matter how absurd your complaint, because I say that out of every 100 complaints that are registered before the complaints that are filed with the police, out of every 100, I would say 1 out of 20 complaints are actually registered as an FIR. Okay, theft, robbery, false accusations, beatings, whatever. If you punch me right now, I go to the local police station and I say, I was hit by Vinamra Kasana, section 323 IPC, simple hurt should be. That's what happens. However, the smallest of offenses, the most minuscule of offenses, if they cross a certain threshold on Twitter, immediately police say, we will take action. An animal gets murdered, we will take action. What action are you going to take?
वही वाली बात है ना कि what people famously think of high profile cases and the role the media plays. The same thing is now a citizen can just boy who cried wolf it completely.
Absolutely.
Right? I know people who have actually gotten trash picked from a landfill in Gurgaon. Because वहाँ ज़्यादा था, वो लोगों ने रिट्वीट कर दिया. गुड़गांव के एफ्लुएंट रेजिडेंट्स ने ले दे के कभी एसपी को टैग करे, कभी कुछ करे, हटवा दिया कूड़ा. I mean, it's very interesting how that happens.